Just opening this meeting. We have with us this morning, I'm Councillor Penny Matthews. I'll be chairing. On my right.
Good morning, I'm Samantha Jenkins. I'm Democratic Services Officer.
Good morning, I'm Lindsay Stark. I'm a licensing officer for Swansea Council.
Good morning, I'm Yvonne Lewis. I'm the team leader for licensing.
I'm Christine Evans. I'm the applicant on behalf of H&R Spirits.
I'm Amy, Christian's partner.
Hi, I'm Councillor Louise Gibbard, Wards Councillor for Dunfermline Killay.
Hi, I'm Councillor Jan Curtis. I'm just part of this committee.
Hi, morning all. This Councillor Paul Lloyd, one of the committee members.
My name's Aled Griffith. I'm the legal advisor for the committee.
We will all have the papers this morning and the order of service is printed out. You've got a copy, haven't you? Yes. Thank you. Okay. So unless you want clarification on anything, I don't really think there's any need to go through that. Do you agree? Okay, thank you.
Proceed.
Okay, so I'll ask the committee, are there any declarations of interest in this meeting, please? No? Thank you. I'm going to ask the licensing officer to explain the report to us. At that point then, when she's finished, if we have any questions, that's when the committee will put the questions. Okay, and then in turn we'll come to you.
I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll now read the report of the service manager for the Statutory Licensing Subcommittee. This is for a new premises. This is an application, sorry, for a new premises licence. And the premises is for H&R Spirits Limited, which is at T Rodney, located at the rear of 6 Curry Close, Dunfermline, Swansea. The applicant is H&R Spirits Limited, and as previously mentioned, it's an application for a new premises licence. The application was received for a new premises licence by this authority on the 31st of May 2024. The applicant has applied for a premises licence to allow the following licensable activities to take place: the supply of alcohol off the premises Monday to Saturday 0800 till 2300, and on a Sunday 1000 hours until 2300 hours. A copy of the application and plan is attached to Appendix A and A1, which are on pages 7 and 32. The property is situated in Dunfermline and is in a residential area. The premises is a single-storey building of brick construction, which is accessed solely via a private right-of-way. No members of the public are permitted to attend the property at any time, as the business offers online sales only. A location plan is attached to Appendix B, which is on page 33. The promotion of the licensing objectives. The promotion of the licensing objectives. The Licensing Act 2003 contains 4 licensing objectives, namely 1, the prevention of crime and disorder; 2, public safety; 3, prevention of public nuisance; and 4, protection of children from harm. Each of these objectives is of equal importance, and the application must demonstrate how they are to be promoted. Conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule and will be attached to the licence, if granted, are attached to Appendix C. Relevant representations. There is 1 representation from other persons, which Councillor Gibbard is presenting on behalf of 2 residents from the same household who wish to remain anonymous. A copy of the representation is attached to Appendix D on page 35. Policy considerations. Considering this application, members should have regard to the current statement of licensing policy, which can be found at the following link within the report. Guidance issued by the Home Secretary. Members should also have regard to the relevant parts of the current statutory guidance issued by the Home Secretary in January 2024, in particular, 1. Introduction Chapter 1, 2. Licensing Objectives Chapter 2, 3. Licensing Activities Chapter 3, 4. Applications for a premises licence Chapter 8, 5. Determining applications Chapter 9, 6. Conditions attached to the premises licence Chapter 10, and 7. Statement of Licensing Policy Chapter 14. A link to the full guidance can be found within the report. The determination of the application. The decision must be based on the individual merits of the application and the representations received, with a view to promoting the licensing objectives outlined in paragraph 5 of the report. In arriving at the decision, members should also have regard to the relevant provisions of the policy and the guidance as previously provided. Reasons must be provided for any departures from the policy or guidance. In reaching the decision, the committee must have regard to the representations, take such steps mentioned below, if any, as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. A, grant the licence to 1. Conditions that reflect the operating schedule, modified in such extent that the authority considers appropriate for promotion of the licensing objectives. 2. Any mandatory conditions relevant to the licence. B. Exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates. C. Refuse to specify a person in the licence as the premises supervisor. D. Reject the application. That concludes the reading of the report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody from the committee have any questions for the officer? No? Okay, thank you. So now we come to the...
Sorry, do you want to ask if either Councillor Gibbard or the applicant has any?
I was going to throw it open after. Oh,
Okay.
yes. Do you have any questions for the officer? Councillor Gibbard, please. No. Do you have any questions, please, for the officer?
No, this time no.
Thank you. Okay. So now we come to Councillor Gibbard, who's raised the objection on behalf of 2 people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm very grateful to the committee and officers for inviting me today. As has been said, I made a representation in response to the application on behalf of 2 residents who contacted me formally, but a couple of other local residents have sort of mentioned some concerns in passing. I have had the opportunity to speak to Mr. Evans, and I was really grateful for that because he was able to clarify a lot of the issues that have been raised. I did relay these back to the residents who'd contacted me, but they did wish to proceed with the hearing so that they could hear the explanation for themselves and also for the committee to consider their concerns. First and foremost, really, is the concern that they feel like this is the wrong location for this sort of business. Curry Close is quite a small, quiet cul-de-sac. You can't really see on the maps, it's just been cut off, but below number 20 there is the back gate of Dunvant Primary School, and many families use this route morning and afternoon to getting in and out of the school. So to address the licensing objectives individually, as I've sort of put in the submission, first of all, with regard to crime and disorder, that there is a genuine fear that they feel that this business is an entirely residential street. It might place neighbouring homes at risk if it's targeted by criminals looking to break in to access alcohol goods of this nature. They may, therefore try and break into a neighbouring properties at the same time, or if they can't get into their property, go into that one instead. The business does have a distinctive van, and the publishing of notices for the licensing application might have alerted criminals to the fact that there might be alcohol on this premises. Which is, essentially it's a garage in the back garden, it's a unit in the back garden. With regard to public safety, I'm very reassured that this is an internet-only business with deliveries made rather than a kind of off license or anything like that. But there is a concern that coming and going of the van or couriers might be unsuitable for a small residential cul-de-sac like this. There's already very limited parking. As I said, it's a well-used rear entrance to the school. I know that the school are putting up some CCTV and sort of enhancing the use of that gate next year. And I'm already regularly contacted by parents and residents of the street about dangerous parking and turning and entering drive. So they're worried that additional vehicle movements throughout the day might exacerbate this. And then in terms of the prevention of public nuisance, there's just a bit of a concern about the hours applied for. For example, early in the morning from 8 when families are going to school, and then later into the night up to 11 o'clock when neighbours, it's predominantly young families and older people living in this area. And then protection for children from harm, the proximity to the school, as I've mentioned before, and the risk from further traffic movements. So that's essentially the representation, and happy to put that across. Thank you.
Yes, I think at this stage it'd be worthwhile, just some images of the property. I think a visual impact will allow people to actually see exactly what's being discussed from a first-hand view, really. I think it's worthwhile, thank you very much. If I just go through each of those as per the representation and give a bit of a discussion. If I pause, please, I've been doing my research. I've got a number of points that I want to make sure I cross off. So in returns to the prevention of crime and disorder, as mentioned, there are no visitors present that are permitted to come to the property. What we've done is we've actually got a 2-metre high gate that's been erected on the driveway. And from the outside, there's no actual change of view from the street in any way. It's still a residential home. It's still my home. I got 2 dash-owns, a kitchen, a garden, bathroom, and 3 bedrooms. Nothing's changed from the outlook. As you can see the photo there, if I was putting a big banner on the fence saying, come buy your gin here, or gin tastings, or come and have a party, then I could understand that completely. You're changing the outlook of the environment. But apart from a lick of paint on the fence in the house, I don't see there any difference going forward. In terms of the actual unit itself, from a security standpoint, we've actually had a 19-point commercial grade steel door installed. It's a Latham door, and part of the reason we purchased it is they used the 2017 British Strongest Man, Eddie Hall, and they said, here's 3 minutes with a sledgehammer, please break through. 2.5 minutes, he dropped the sledgehammer and said, the only way you get to this door is by breaking the concrete around it. It's a 145 kilogram door. It was a very moving morning when they said it's curbside delivery only, and I had to single-handedly move it 15 meters. Let me say that. We're also looking at having a commercial grade alarm system linked to the property also. And whilst there's front-facing cameras, there'll also be some on the side and rear access. It's important to note as well, during the consultation period, we actually had a visit from PC Jones on behalf of the police. Now, obviously, he's overseeing the prevention of crime and disorder and also public safety. It was a bit of an alarm when I was in work at 4:30 when I had a call going, hello, it's the police. First thing, oh dear, what's wrong? By 9:30 the following morning, he'd come and done his report. He'd seen the curtilage, he'd seen that there's 2-metre high fences all the way around. He noted the security that's been put in place and what is due to be put in place. And he was more than satisfied from a police regard of what was put in place and was due to be put in place. That's the crime and disorder, I think. I think another aspect as well in regards to break-ins, we're actually not new to gin. This is an application based on us wanting to go independent and move away. When we launched the gin business back in 2022, we worked and were under a larger distillery that did all of our ordering, fulfillment and production for us. Whilst we move away from them due to a business conflict of interest they had, that is where now we're looking at this application. But the pictures that I've shown you is of a bright pink panel van. The van is no bigger than next to neighbour at both sides, their vehicle, which is a normal, my commercial vehicle is smaller than their home used vehicle. The van is bright pink, it's noticeable, and within the vicinity of Dunvan and Clay, it's actually quite well known. It's done its job for local brand awareness. Now, when we purchased that van in May 2022, despite the disclaimer on the back saying no gin on board, we had that initial view, as is reasonable to think, well, hang on, would this draw any unwanted attention? We had cameras on the front of the property. It's been there 2 years. We've never had any issues at all. And I think similarly to if you had a plumber or a plasterer or an electrician's van on a drive, the layman, similar to myself 6 months ago, isn't up on licensing law. They think naturally that within an electrician's van, there may still be some tools or cable of value. They may think there's copper pipe in the back of a plumber's van. And similarly, they may think that within the curtilage of the land or the van itself, that there may be some remnants of gin. I've spoken to 101. There's been no crime reports within Dunvan over the last 8 years. So the idea of all of a sudden it's going to erupt, I think, is a little bit not really correct based on it's already had precedent of being there for 2 years. In terms of public safety, in terms of comings and goings, we're not planning on having any deliveries to the property at all. Similarly, we're not, as mentioned again, we're not having any public visitors. That means no pickups, and that means no deliveries for finished stock to us. That's why we've got the van. The notion for us really is that if we are looking at getting a secondary unit, probably in Forest Farclas, Llansamlet, a small little similar sized area where we can store non-licensed goods. So our input factors, things like if we had a bottle delivery or stoppers or labels or any other items that are linked or packaging materials for the business, we'd have them delivered there and as and when needed, we would then use our van, go and collect them and bring them back. That's likely to be a twice weekly journey, which is less than someone doing a 9 till 5 commute to work. Furthermore, I think another key thing is we're not trying to make my driveway an extension of the road. It's still my residential home. As I mentioned, I've got 2 dogs. I've still got a garden that I use. Nothing's changing. It's not going to be commercialized. I think the notion of deliveries, I think people perceive that at 8:05 in the morning, we're going to have an Arctic lorry drive on to Carry Close, 3 men jump off the back with a forklift, start unloading pallets, waving sorry to the 4 people that are trying to get off the road to go to work, and waving to the other 6 on Durling who are trying to take the kids to school. And then they do it again at 5 to 11, and just for good measure, we do it at 3:20. It's just not the case. In theory, we're having to go through this licensing, procedure for legal reasons. But if we weren't required, hypothetically, the everyday person wouldn't know. They wouldn't know if we were doing this activity today, tomorrow, a week from now, or a year from now, because nothing is changing. There's nothing that is enticing or suspicious that makes people want to go, there's something behind that gate. The van's been there for 2 years. We've never had an issue. There we are. I think that's the part about that part. And similarly, again, then, so with regards to orders that we have from individuals, we don't allow people to pick up. So we offer free local delivery to people within the area. If we have an order on someone at, on a Thursday evening going, hello, it's my sister's birthday on Saturday, can you get an order to us? I live in Pennard. That's not a problem. We can deliver it to you, no problem at all. I think the key thing really is that another point is to do with the timings of day. We're in the middle of July. Last month, it wasn't getting dark till 11:15, and plenty of people are out the back enjoying their gardens as normal. Without licensing, I'm entitled to go into my garage at 11 o'clock anyway. All this policy is, this framework is allowing me to go into a garage that's on my land at certain points of time. It doesn't say that I can then disregard noise levels. It doesn't mean I disregard my neighbours or do anything untoward that'll affect anyone. It's purely that I have the right that if I have an order come through on a Thursday evening at 10 o'clock, that I could technically go in, open up a bottle, put it into a box, put it on a label, and get it ready to go down the post office the following day or be packaged out. It's just giving me the right to use the time. It certainly doesn't mean that I'll be doing it. I like EastEnders the same as everyone else. At 11 o'clock at night, I'll be catching up on that, or I'll be in my home office working. I'm not, going to be living in a garage. Let's put it that way. Let's just see. Make sure I've covered everything here. And I think another key point I'd like to make as well is that throughout the whole kind of process, really, we have tried to be quite open and transparent as much as possible. I've been in contact with the licensing teams throughout. We've been taking on criticisms prior to the application going in. We want to work and make sure we come to an amicable conclusion. So, for example, we've had a visit from the police, and they've said that we're more than satisfied with what's been put in place. We've had communications and conversations with food hygiene already, which because it's still a food stuff, it would still need to be in line. Please don't be alarmed. This isn't a dingy, damp garage. This has been internally damp-proofed, insulated, stud-walled, tiled, kitchen cabinets, new antimicrobial linoleum floor, and a plastered ceiling. It's completely brand new in that respect. So in terms of the food hygiene, we've stipulated what do they want. We're putting in place what they want in terms of the antimicrobial floor and the tiling. The police, we said, what else do you need? They said, we don't foresee anything at the moment. South and Mid-West Wales police, fire, have been in contact also. They've stipulated that they would like a fire risk assessment done over the next 6 months, but they don't foresee any immediate concerns. During my day job, I work for a pharmaceutical company, which over the last 6 months, I've just been solely doing fire risk assessments for 25 different pharmacies. So you can, that's fine. We can arrange that, no problem at all. And also that prior to working with the local authority, we thought we'd do the hard work first. How wrong we were. But we've actually, we've got all the permissions from HMRC. So that we thought that dealing with the tax office might have been, a long-winded process, and it was. But we've got the forms to show that they are happy with the property, that it can store alcohol safely. They've asked very similar questions to what's been asked today. And I think really, based on what's been discussed so far, we haven't received any representations from any of the responsible authorities, and that includes HMRC. So I think really, if we had to summarise it in very succinctly, it's a local guy trying to get a side business in gin up and running, trying to use a garage for some storage. I haven't got children, so I haven't got 25 bikes. I don't kayak or surf, so I haven't got hobbies that take up a lot of space. And I had a garage that otherwise I'd have to gain a commercial lease somewhere else. So it's just trying to utilize space that I've already got. We're not trying to affect anyone else. We're not trying to cause any nuisance. We've all got to live with each other. You know, I got a good relationship with most of my neighbours, and we just kind of similarly, we don't want to bother you, you don't want to bother us. We're not trying to affect anyone. So I think the notion of at 8 o'clock that suddenly, oh, we're going to leave in the morning. Well, I work from home, and if I need to do something, I'll leave at 9:30 after the school traffic. If I've got to go somewhere at 2:30, I'll leave at 2 o'clock, so I avoid the 3:30 traffic. Just use a bit of common sense, really. Similarly, that with or without a license, I wouldn't then start revving my van at 11 o'clock at night just for the fun of it. I wouldn't do that anyway to affect anyone else. And I think also there's an aspect of live and let live. We're not trying to do anything that bothers anyone. We're quite open and transparent in saying if there's something that you want changed, we'll definitely look into doing that. I've got a neighbour who's recently bought a chopper bike. I love bikes, but at 7:10, where he drives past my house, he's got to change down a gear. So that rumbling exhaust wakes me up at 7:12 every morning, which sounds late. But if I've been working till 2:30 in my home office, sometimes I like that extra half hour. So I think it's a little bit of live and let live. We're not trying to affect anyone, and I think we've done as much as we can, and we're open to any suggestions going forward. But I think realistically, we're just trying to use a garage for what is its intended purpose. So I think that summarises everything. I think I've just noted all the points that I'd like to mention. One further point about deliveries. In terms of myself, over the last 12 months, we've had for the business, I've had one delivery. It's a company that sent us this, which is a portfolio for label designs. I would hazard that this would not constitute a significant increase in traffic to Curry Close. Our local delivery driver, Wynne, I've known him for a number of years because I've worked with his wife. I'd hazard a guess that the number of ASOS, Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing deliveries that go to the street will far exceed my label portfolio here. So I just like to at this time, thank you very much for your time. I think I've, yes, if there's any further questions, please I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
So virtually the garage is a storage unit and is it just gin you sell, or is there any other spirits or beer or barrels?
Are you looking to be a customer? No,
I do like gin, actually.
Yeah, we just sell flavoured gin. The way it works is that we've worked with a distillery where they do everything for us. So everything comes to us as a finished product. They come in boxes of 6, and the majority of our sales are to trade. So often they come in and they go out in exactly the same condition with an invoice glued on top.
So, sorry, how often do you get a delivery then?
Once every 6 months. That's the next point I was going to make. We're still small. I've got a day job. This isn't a conglomerate. This isn't a situation where 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 employees are driving to work, 4 wheelbase, long base vans are outside. This is something that when we do it in every 6 months, we take a batch. And the way it works for cash flow is that there's a 12-week lead time for it to be produced. By the time we get it delivered, 60% of it is sold. So it means that as soon as it comes in, the following day, it's out the door and it's gone. So in essence, we actually run our stock down to 0. So there's periods of time where if we had a license, there may be less gin in our garage than someone may have wine for personal consumption. This certainly isn't a case where you open that steel door and it's jammed to the rafters. Inside there's kitchen cabinets, it's tiled, there's suitable walking space, which is why the fire were happy, and it's just there'll be racking inside for individual bottles. It's in terms of quantity of bottles, around about 200 with as a full order, which 100 then would go out the following day.
So are you the person that delivers then? If somebody puts an order in, are you the person that takes it out?
I jump my little van and I deliver
okay.
them.
I'm just clarify how much traffic was there.
No. So failing that, then everything leaves my property in my van. So it might go to the post office, it might go to DPD, or it gets delivered in person. We're still small. The majority of the trade that we do is within Swansea and a few in Cardiff, a few down in Pembrokeshire as well. It's all done in one day.
I've got a couple of questions. When you get the delivery of 200 bottles, how does that come?
So we get basically a phone call from a distillery, and we've worked with 3 or 4 different distilleries over the past 2 years, and they go, your order is ready. It's sitting there on a pallet for us to collect. 200 bottles fits very neatly inside my van. So we turn up, it would take no more space than half of one of these tables in between the legs, to about the same height as the mic. They're 40 boxes. They fit in the back of my little panel van. As I said, they'd come home. They're not, most of the time, they're not even getting unboxed. They're in boxes 6 all sealed. All the flavors are labeled on top. We print off all the invoices ahead of time. Sometimes we even pick them up and deliver them on the way home. You know, this isn't a situation where constant loading and unloading and then, you know, forklift with pallets and also, it's certainly not the case. This is a small enterprise where we're looking really to use a corner of a garage to store it.
But the possibility is there, but because of the size of the garage or storeroom, sorry, the possibility is there that you could actually handle more if the business picks up sufficiently.
Well, no, I would disagree with that. The reason being is that the size of the garage is 5.4 meters long by 2.65 meters wide. It's 13.75 square meters. It's small. Once you've built out the stud wall and the insulation, and you've got to allow, and bear in mind, you've got to have a suitable space to walk to maintain a safe working environment. We've got kitchen cabinets that have been installed in one corner that'll allow us just solely to certain people order gift wrap. So we'll have ribbons and gift towel, all that sort of stuff. So to have a safe working space, the likelihood is that we wouldn't be able to take much more. Even if we doubled the pickups that we do once every 3 months, it's still infrequent.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was access, because access, from what you've said and the pictures you brought, and thank you for doing that, access is only through your driveway, through those wooden.
That's
doors.
correct, yes. So it's
Yeah.
14.75 meters from the start of my garage to the start of the public highway.
Right, okay.
So in order to reach those gates, you've
I'm
actually,
smiling because you know all these dimensions.
you've got to be prepared, haven't you? You've got to be prepared. So so in essence, in order to reach the gate, of which we said it's highly secure, you'd actually need to have walked 9 meters onto my land. Not even the postman is allowed to go past my gate. So it just shows it's not accessible.
Okay, and it is only gin at the moment.
We intend to only stay at gin. We do flavoured gins, and that's our target market. Yeah.
And then you box them up, pretty them up, whatever, and arrange delivery. So you wouldn't be taking sort of cases of gin to anyone. It would just be bottles.
No, that's what I mean. So we'd have, they come in 40, so we'll have 35 to 40 boxes of 6. And they come stocked in 6s of the same flavour. So if a bar ordered, oh, we'd like 3 of each flavour, we just take 3 out, swap 3 in, seal the same box up and send them in the box of 6. If someone such as yourself only wants to buy 1, we have a different package in, which was part of that kitchen unit area, where we then pop the box together, take 1 out, pop it in, put a little thank you, seal it up, and then that's ready to go to the post office to be dispatched.
Brilliant. So you will be supplying the public, but you said premises as well?
95% of our orders historically have been to premise, of which the individuals, the ones that have been in Swansea, we hand deliver. And those, because we also, as a small business, we want to engage with our customers. So what's the point in sending something if they're already in Skeffy? We knock the door and go, hello, this is us, thank you very much. So, yeah. Or if it's further afield, it's by the post office.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I'm Malad Griffith. I'm the legal advisor, so I've got no decision-making involvement in this. I'm just here to obviously advise. One thing I just wanted for clarification, just might assist my advice. You mentioned that you do all the deliveries yourself. So one of the concerns was that there'd be couriers arriving, not all hours of the night, but up until the point of the expiry of the license. Was I right in my understanding of what you were saying, that all the deliveries are carried out by your van rather than external couriers?
It's all done by ourselves. So, whereas other businesses will have a DBT van turn up, unload to them. For a larger business, it makes sense. They could pay an extra premium, but it's worthwhile rather than sending a staff member, sweat equity myself. We load the van up.
I understand. That's what I wanted to check. That's what I thought I heard, but I just wanted to make sure that I got that.
Another point as well, with regards to, again, with the public, those gates are never open. One, I got 2 dogs, but secondly, so if we got a load up, the van would be reversed behind the gates are closed. We do whatever we need to do, and then the gates are open and closed before we leave. So there's no public view, of which, as we mentioned, it's just a garage from the front. There's nothing enticing. There's no difference to it. There was another type of business van there.
We haven't got any more questions, so if you'd like to sum up briefly for us, and then what'll happen is we're going to recess with our legal advisor, and you'll get the result within 5 days, 5 working days. Okay, thank you.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. In terms of summary, as we've mentioned, it's very much using a garage for what it is, its intended use. We're not trying to, take over the world of this business. It's simply trying to utilize space that we already have. We're not looking to affect anyone at all. We've done as much as we can in terms of security, and the in-person visit that we have had has been more than satisfactory to the police. We haven't had any representations from any responsible authorities, which include HMRC, who are more than happy for us to use this. They classify it as a vessel, a building to store alcohol. And the size of our operation means that because we run down to zero, we may have less stock than a typical avid wine drinker would have in their cellar. So, or under the Morrison 6 for 5 deal. So it's we're certainly not trying to. You swap seats. So it's certainly not a case where we're trying to affect anyone in any way, shape, or form. We've also set precedent. The van has been there for 2 years. There's been no crime in the area. The van does stand out. We understand. We've never had any issues. I don't understand why now it would suddenly create that issue. The layman person doesn't understand licensing law. I didn't 6 months ago. So I think the idea of suddenly there being an application, I bet most people don't even read it. After, as Louise said, one person thought it was an off license. I could understand that being a representation, but in terms of no one coming to my home, the last thing I want on a Saturday night when I'm tucking into my Indian takeaway is a knock at the door for some stock. So I think that's summarised. I covered everything already. I don't want to kind of waste time, but thank you very much.
Just one thing before you go. The 11 o'clock finish time, if that was to be reduced, how would that affect you? Would you be agreeable to thinking about 11 o'clock to bringing it back to say 10 o'clock?
Fine. I mean, I'll be quite honest. When I was speaking to Lindsay when I first did the application, I thought I did it naively. I looked at it. I'd never filled one of these forms in before. I thought it's online. We'll put down 00000. It's 24 hours a day because that's when the business is operational. It's that notion of common sense. If 10 o'clock means that it's a tick in the box, no problem at all. No problem at all. Thank you very much.
Can I just clarify something then in that respect as well? Would there be agreement to restrict the time of deliveries as opposed to licensing hours as well?
Okay, in deliveries to myself or deliveries me outgoing, you mean? So me using the van?
Yes.
I think in regards to that, we're not, so in terms of when we sell to trade, it's very different to selling to individuals. Individuals can put an order in at any time of day. Trade one is Thursday afternoon because it's in time for the Friday and Saturday rush. I don't want to be penalised that if I've got a really busy one, because I'm doing my deliveries bulk, that if I then come home at 9 o'clock, that someone's at the window taking pictures. I don't want to be in that situation where, similarly, I don't want the situation where I decide I want a new washing machine, a white van turns outside and a box comes out, and then Lindsay is report. I get some form of review because I've had a washing machine delivered. So it's kind of a bit of a common sense, really, where the van will be used, but it's not going to be used that infrequently. In terms of timings of deliveries, in terms of nothing after 4 o'clock, or I mean, what's?
I just doesn't mean that I've got to
It's certainly not going
consider.
to be an overnight endeavour. That's certainly not the case.
I understand. I'm just trying to get an understanding of the extent of the van use more than anything.
Yeah, to be honest, the bad news is, unfortunately, the van just failed its MOT. So we've had to wait for so in terms of the traffic and everything else, at the moment, the van is having to wait for a part from Italy. So it's sitting there stagnant for the last 8 weeks. So all these conversations may be moot now in time. But the notion is that, no, the van isn't used that frequently. Usually our deliveries are Wednesdays and Thursdays, of which they'll be ad hoc. Thank you very much. It's marvellous. Thank you very much for your time, all. I appreciate it. Thank you.